In the house of Awolowo, I feel Awo. I feel the spirit of Awo. As a daughter of Awo, do you feel the way I feel?
Oh yes, of course I do. This is home. I don't actually live in this house, but every time I come into the house, there's an aura. Yes, because this is where Papa lived to the end of his life, and this is where Mama lived to the end of her life. So this is where they both passed on. So there's a spirit here that is special. Yes.
This was where the great Awo passed on?
This was where he passed on, upstairs. And Mama passed on in her room downstairs. How many years later? A few years later.
The great Awo passed on in 1987?
Yes.
What was that day like?
My goodness. It was traumatic. It was a traumatic day. I'll tell you, I saw him by some strange coincidence. He died on Saturday. We don't know what time it was on Saturday morning. But Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I saw him on each of those days. On Wednesday, I was at work, and I just felt like giving him a call, and I called him. I said, I would like to come and see you. He said, come along. So I just came. He was in his office above the library down there. And we just simply chatted. Mama was away in Ibadan to represent him at some book launch or some event. So when Mama arrived, she joined us in the office. And I just had a good time with him and Mama. And I left and went back to Lagos. On Thursday, he was the one who called me in the office in the afternoon and said, do you want to come and see me? I said, yes. He said, okay, bring Boju along. Boju is the nickname he gave to my daughter. That's her there. Because she couldn't say Boju very well. Her nanny at that time was from Benin Republic, so she adopted the accent of her nanny. So he said, bring Boju along. So I said, oh, of course I will. So I called my sister, Mrs. Shuode. I said, I'm going to Ikene. Papa said we should come and visit. And she said, yes, I would like to come along. So she came. We met up at my house and we came. And so we had a good time with him, a really good time in his bedroom. Then on Friday, he had an eye appointment with Professor Mrs. Oluni. So I had to come back again. And on that day, Mrs. Oyeduno accompanied Professor Oluni. And we were in his room. And he said, and Mrs. Oluni was saying, Papa, you read too much, you write too much, you are doing too much work. And he turned around and looked Professor Oluni in the face. He said he would work until the day he died. That was what he told Mrs. Oluni.
That was not negotiable.
No. So when he finished, he came downstairs to that room there because he needed a haircut. The barber was already waiting. Alhaji Gbadamosi was also here. So when I was leaving, they were both in that room, Papa and Alhaji Gbadamosi. Papa had the barber cloth round his neck. That was my last picture of him. So I went in to say goodbye. I said I was leaving. He said, I want you to come back. No. That was on Thursday. He told me he wanted to, when I came back on Friday, that I should prepare to stay overnight, Friday to Saturday. But when I arrived, he said, where is Buju Buju? I said, she's not here. He said, so you're not staying? I said, no. And he looked crestfallen. I can never forget. And I regret that. I will regret that forever. He sat on his bed. I sat on the chair by his bed. And we were chatting, but he didn't look me in the eye. And then when my sister came and all of that, and then so when I was going, I said, I will see you on Monday. And he said, his last words to me, he said, Oma Kenyu. Meaning your child will take care of you.
Did you understand what that meant?
I had no idea. I didn't think it had any significance on that day.
What do you think now?
Now I know that maybe he was just saying goodbye. Nobody thought that he was going to die. There was no sign at all that he was about to pass on. So, I just left. And Mama was supposed to come to a wedding. She and I were supposed to go to the wedding together. So she was supposed to come to my house on Saturday morning. So I was dressed and waiting for Mama to come. And quite unlike her, she was very late. I waited and waited. So when I heard the sound of a car at the gate, I looked out from the window. I was expecting it to be Mama's car, but rather it was my husband's car. And because the plan was that we would go to the wedding, Mama would drop me at the clinic where my husband was working, and then he and I would come home to our house in Lagos. But when I saw his car, I was filled with dread, and I flew literally down the stairs. I opened the front door. I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, one of our cousins, Barrister Shulaja, called him to say that Papa was not feeling well. And I said, so if Papa isn't feeling well, why are you here? Have you called his doctor? What exactly are you doing here? He said, well, I think we should go and see him. We used to do that, and in the past, when he wasn't feeling well, I would go or he would go and we would sort things out. And so I thought, okay, maybe there was nothing to worry about. So, but I cried all the way from Lagos to here, to Ikene.
Why?
I don't know why.
Because at that time you've not been told the story.
I know.
And
but
yet
I
you cried
all the way to Ikene. Then when we got into town, I was looking for signs of commotion or whatever, but everything was calm. There was no sign that there was anything until we got to this compound. We got to the compound, the gardeners were doing their work. The compound was serene. One of his stewards opened this door. I said, Shadrach, where is Papa? He said he's upstairs. Where's Mama? She's upstairs. Okay, so I went up the stairs gingerly. I knocked on Papa's door. There was no answer. I tried to open the door. It was locked. So I tried to open Mama's door. That was locked too. So I knocked. And one of the ladies that were looking after Mama was the one that opened the door. And her face just told me the story. Nobody needed to say anything. And there was a blackout, I think, for me. There was a complete blackout. I don't know what happened for the next few minutes. And then when I came, my mama said, well, this is what happened. That Papa had woken up in the morning, but he locked the door to go to the bathroom and all of that. And but that after a few minutes, she thought he should have come out of the bathroom. And she knocked gently. No answer. Knocked loudly. No answer. Then she called his driver of 40, 50 years. Went to call him. And they took a big stick. And at that point, they knew that there was something seriously wrong. So she told me all of that. And so I said I wanted to see him. So they opened the connecting door between Mama's room and his room, and I simply fell on his body. I just fell on his body and lay there, and they had to pull me off.